All right, everyone. Thursday's morning briefing from the Celtic Way. Hamish here. Ryan is with me as well as we delve into what's happening Celtic-wise, transfer stuff. We'll look ahead a bit to Hibs v Celtic on Sunday, a big game. We're going to take a lot of your comments as well today. And I'm just trying to gauge the mood already, Ryan. What are you thinking?
It's chatty, that's for sure, which is always good, and it helps the show flow along very nicely. It's getting busy already, which is great to see, even though we started 30 seconds ago. So, yeah, it looks like a busy place to be in, and there's plenty to discuss, there's plenty to talk about, plenty to potentially moan about, you could say, on one side. But yeah, looking forward to getting into it and discussing it with you, Hamish.
Yeah. The first thing that I just saw before I came on, and it may be a transfer update, it may not be because we don't know how interested we actually were. But the Leicester City have agreed to sign Facundo Buenanotte, who I think was mentioned a couple of days ago from, it was a Dutch source, wasn't it? Because he was going to be going to Feyenoord. That hasn't happened. We were mentioned alongside Southampton. He plays for Brighton at the moment, but he's going on loan to Leicester with no buy option clause. So maybe that's what put us off. Maybe we weren't in for him at all. I guess there wouldn't be much point in signing him before Matt O'Reilly goes. He may just have been one of the contingency plans we've got, but we can score Buenanotte off the list. He's not going to be playing for us this season.
Yeah, the links weren't that strong with the player anyway. I think people were putting two and two together with Matt O'Reilly potentially going to Brighton. Obviously, that's heated up in the past 24 hours. And Buenanotte maybe going the other way, 19-year-old midfielder that can play out wide as well as in the number 10 position. That could have potentially been a good make weight for Matt O'Reilly, and having a player automatically that can come into that attacking midfield position so that Celtic can pursue other targets. That isn't going to be the case. I think he's got a good move going to Leicester, promoted to the Premier League, playing good football probably under Steve Cooper as well. They've taken loan players on in the past with varying levels of success. I remember last season in particular, they had, I think it was Cassidy on loan from Chelsea, and I think he went back to Chelsea after about half a season. So, hopefully for the player's sake that he does well at Leicester. But it's another name that you can strike off the list. But
Yeah.
it was a rumour, Hamish. It was a link. Celtic don't really have that many links to players at this moment in time. It's a very weird summer, and you could probably about a dozen players at Celtic have been linked out with the goalkeeping position, because it seemed like every single goalkeeper that was available was linked to Celtic at the start of the window. Ever since the goalkeeping situation has been sorted, there just hasn't been that many links to players, or if there has been links, they've been quickly dashed off. The players either gone to another club or Celtic are just not interested and have not pursued it. I don't know about you, it seems quiet in terms of links. There's always been links to players. Summers have been absolutely crazy. Does that mean Celtic are keeping it quiet? Does that mean the media aren't trying to speculate names going to the club? I'm not sure, but they need to get a move on. And I'm not going to say panic stations will happen if Matt O'Reilly leaves the club, but at the same time, they're going to need to splash the cash for his successor, because that is a lot of goals and assists you're losing. I know we'll probably get into talking about it. In fact, we will definitely talk about Matt O'Reilly. It's the elephant in the room. But yes, it's big, big shoes to fill, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, what is the latest with Matt O'Reilly? Because I don't know if any of you are like this, but I've kind of, it's probably not a great thing to say as a guy who does multiple YouTube channels. I've kind of zoned out a little bit from the whole Matt O'Reilly stuff. Oh, Club X is now interested in Matt O'Reilly, Brighton, Chelsea, Southampton, Atalanta. It's just all noise to me. And until a club pays what he's worth, that's all it will be. And I think there's been reports that Brighton could potentially get to certainly near what Celtic want for Matt O'Reilly, but what's going on with this one? Does it feel like it's different to the other interest in Matt O'Reilly?
I think the difference is that that magic number that seems to have been linked with Matt O'Reilly since there was transfer interest, 25 million, has been was on that article, was on that tweet from the journalist last night whose name escapes me. as soon as 25 million was said, you were like, that's Celtic's ballpark. That's where they're probably going to sell a player. If that's his valuation, if clubs are letting you know, if a club is letting other clubs know about a player's valuation, then if that's met, then the player will more likely go and leave the club. Unfortunately, for as important as Matt O'Reilly is, I think if he goes 25, I think it's 25 million plus £4 million in add-ons. I would be wanting a sell-on clause on that, or a percentage, because the moment he pulls on a Brighton top, I think his value doubles, unfortunately. And that's the game that Celtic play. And Brendan Rodgers was talking about that. People value the team and the league that the player plays for rather than the player in itself. The moment he pulls on that blue and white jersey, he'll be worth 40, 50 million already, simply because he's applying himself in a better league. And it's a shame, but it's the way football is with the Premier League. Premier League tax is a very real thing. And if he is to move on and go to Brighton, I think he'd be their best player within a season. I think he'd be that good. I think this would be a stopgap for him between Brighton and something even bigger, a Liverpool, a Chelsea, an Arsenal, whoever. He's that good, and you're just hoping that Celtic can insert a buy-on clause so that when that does happen, and it will, I think, in the next 2-3 years, Celtic are compensated for starting off his big journey to elite level football.
Yeah, as I say, we'll wait and see if a team comes in for him and offers that amount, he will probably be away, and then we'll look at contingency plans, replacements. Andy just saying, surely we're not settling for Bernardo as O'Reilly's replacement. I think as supporters, that's something we fear, because we're Celtic fans that O'Reilly leaves and we don't necessarily find a replacement for him, because I think we would be pretty light in midfield if O'Reilly moved on and Bernardo was his replacement. But from what we hear in the reporting from journalists who know people at Celtic, all the reporting I've seen anyway has been that Celtic would then move for another player if Matt O'Reilly moves on, and you would hope that it would be a big signing. But yeah, we're kind of in limbo in that place. I'm less worried about that, because what will be there. It's just the other positions. I mean, where are we with left back, centre back, forward, winger? It's all gone very quiet, which I guess is fine as long as things eventually happen or happen quickly. You look at the goalkeeper stuff, and we didn't necessarily, I know you were talking about links, but we didn't necessarily have any links to Sinizalo and Schmeichel, and then immediately they were signing for the club. So business can be done quickly. Someone was pointing out that we've done a lot of good late business in recent years. Jota, Carter Vickers the first time round. I think Giakoumakis was pretty late in the window as well. But where are we with all of this stuff, Ryan?
Your guess is as good as mine here, unfortunately. Adam Ida still is getting linked with the club, but he's got a squad number at Norwich, which, I guess is just normal with modern football. You've got to put him there, otherwise it would cause even more speculation if he wasn't given one. But as things stand, he'll be in the squad to play Oxford at the weekend for Norwich's first game in the Championship this season. Celtic have only got one striker at the moment in Kyogo, and people were worried when he fell to the ground against Kilmarnock with Robbie McCrory. You're walking on a tightrope here that Celtic don't necessarily need to be on at this point in time if they went. And I understand if the price has been increased, but there'll be no excuses if Celtic sell Matt O'Reilly. They have that money in the bank. They already have that money in the bank with the transfer or the trading update to the London Stock Exchange. I don't think Celtic can haggle for a couple of million anymore. I think they lose that right when they sell a player for 25 million plus the profits that they've already got in reserve. Whether that's Ida, whether that's Miovski, although it looks as if he'll be going somewhere else. Girona's been linked with him as of Genoa. So it looks as if he's going unless he was getting a flight from Aberdeen to Glasgow. Although I think he would get criticised for getting that for such a short journey. But yeah, they need a striker. There's been no other links to left back. There's been not really any new links to centre back. Darryl Shea was linked, and now he's been linked to Ipswich and there's another club that he was linked to that have escaped me. Who was the team that he was linked to yesterday? Brentford. Yeah. So he's obviously interesting people in the Premier League. He's that level of player. He's done enough, despite being relegated with Burnley, to prove himself. So at this point in time, it's very quiet. I'm hoping that changes, but for the moment, it's too quiet for my liking. There needs to be links to players. There needs to be some movement, and there really just needs to be some urgency, because Celtic have started the season. I don't want them risking games against Hibs, against St Mirren, especially St Mirren, who are one of probably the informed teams at the moment playing European football. Celtic play them in a couple of weeks. I expect Celtic to win that game, but at the same time, it's more difficult when you don't have players in acclimatised, not even players signed, but players settled too. It's a bit of a messy situation. I hope they've got it under control, but from the outside looking in, it looks very scattergun, and it looks like it might be scattergun at the end of the window too.
Yeah. That's where we're at transfer-wise at the moment. I just saw some comments there from Peter Schmeichel. In fact, comments from Casper Schmeichel just about Peter Schmeichel, saying that he was buzzing about Casper signing for Celtic. I think he can see himself making a lot of trips to watch games and enjoy golf days. He's been to Celtic Park a few times, particularly on European nights, and says it's special. I don't know if you saw this, but Peter Schmeichel was actually at Celtic Park on Sunday for the game. So it'd be interesting to see what he took away from that. I mean, it must have been a hell of an experience for someone like that, going to a game and seeing a full stadium tifo. I mean, you really don't see them very often. And Casper Schmeichel, judging from his post after the game, must have absolutely loved it. I mean, we've not signed many players so far this summer, but I would say the ones we have signed do look to be decent enough. It was a pretty, as much as he didn't have much to do, I thought it was a pretty solid competitive debut from Casper Schmeichel, and a great experience for him.
Absolutely. And there was a post from Stuart Ross, who does analysis pieces for the Celtic Way, and he compiled clips of all of Casper Schmeichel's distribution on the ball. That's definitely a positive. He is clearly better at that than his predecessor in Joe Hart. He's acclimatised to modern football probably better than Joe Hart has in the past 10 years. That's the reason why, unfortunately, Joe Hart was kind of going about until he joined Celtic, whereas Casper Schmeichel, he's been playing football, consistently for the past 10, 15 years. Manchester City, had to go out and play at Leicester, but he's a legend over there now, then playing for Nice and Anderlecht. So even at 37, he's shown that he can still adapt to new styles, and he's playing under a style that he clearly likes. He's spoken at length about Brendan Rodgers and how much he enjoys playing under the manager. I remember there was those rumours going about before he signed that there was maybe a falling out between the two parties, but I'm glad that that's been rubbished, because the two can't speak highly enough of each other, and I think that's important, having that solid foundation at the back and goals for the manager, because it's somebody that he can trust and hang his hat on, and really trust to make those big saves, particularly in Europe. Yes, he'll have saves to make in the Scottish Premiership, but also in Europe. I think he's a very, very important signings. If all Celtic signings were like that, then I think the club would be in a happier place and a better place. But for the moment, that looks like a hell of a signing, and it just, no pun intended, but it just fits like a glove, doesn't it, at the moment?
Yeah. I'm so excited. I was excited basically from the minute I heard that he was going to be coming to the club. I think he's a brilliant signing, and really encouraged by the start he's made. He made a number of really good saves while we were away in the States, like a number of really, really top saves. Didn't have any to make it the weekend, but I to be honest, his distribution and how comfortable he was with the ball at his feet was a little bit of a surprise to me. I didn't know he really had that reputation. I didn't really know much about him, to be honest, other than he's been around for years, part of the successful Leicester team, etc. but he looks really comfortable with the ball at his feet, and I wonder if that'll make a difference to us in Europe, being able to play out from the back against aggressive European presses, knowing we have a goalkeeper who like can zing balls into midfielders, because he was doing that on Sunday. He had one in the second half to Matt O'Reilly, and O'Reilly then tried to fizz it out to Palmer, and it was just a bit long, but I mean it was evidence of Celtic being able to go from back to front really quickly, but doing it in a controlled manner. So I find that part of it really exciting. I think he's going to prove to be a really, really good signing for us for however long he's at the club. And you already aren't hearing people talking about his age anymore, really, because it's clear that he's still got it just from the first 2 or 3 matches.
Absolutely. And I think another sort of advantage to his game is that pass that he can play into the midfield that Hatate can just take. That was hurting Kilmarnock so much on Sunday, beating the middleman, just missing him out completely, and bringing the midfield into the game. It doesn't need to automatically be with the defenders all the time. You can bypass them and put it into the midfield. By then, the opposition aren't set, and Hatate can start to cause damage. And I feel like if Celtic are to be successful this season, Hatate's going to have to do that every game, especially with the seemingly imminent departure of Matt O'Reilly. Hatate's importance is just now increased, or will increase, starting probably this weekend if talks between Celtic and Brighton are to intensify over O'Reilly. Hatate's positioning in this team, he's now their most important creative player in the middle of the park, and he's going to have to show consistent levels. The good thing is he's had a great start against Kilmarnock, and he's shown that he can play in that role, and he was man of the match by a country mile on Sunday. So that was a good showing and a good sign of things to come. But yeah, Schmeichel I didn't really realise that he was so good on the ball either. I thought that he was maybe one of these players that perhaps struggled with distribution at his feet, just due to being an older goalkeeper. He was there at the kind of start of the goalkeeping revolution with Manuel Neuer, etc.
Yeah.
Now you see the current goalkeepers, Ederson, Alisson. Some have fallen by the wayside. Not all goalkeepers can play with the ball at their feet, but he's quite clearly adapted, and I think that's a measure of the player and the individual, that he was willing to learn and elongate his career in the process. It's just a great fit at the moment. It's only been 2-3 games, 1 professional game, but the early signs look good for Schmeichel and Celtic, and I'm glad that his dad enjoyed the football as well, because that's another ambassador for the club. If his son's playing well, he'll be spreading the good word of Celtic to other people as well, and that can only be a positive.
Yeah, it's a good point. We're kind of building a number of goalkeeping ambassadors. The big name goalkeepers are certainly finding their way to Celtic Park, either in the stand or on the pitch in recent years. So, there was a comment in there, Des, just wondering about the new Champions League setup and whether that allows entry into the Europa League. Not anymore. We're Champions League. The Champions League's the only European competition we'll play in this season. We'll be in it until we're not in it, and we won't drop into the Europa League at any stage. So I guess that's why Brendan Rodgers is targeting Champions League knockout football in that top 24 spot, because there's no other option. It's an interesting choice from UEFA. I wonder why they've done it. Because I quite liked the drop in. I always thought that was a nice option for clubs like Celtic, because realistically we're never going to win the Champions League. To be honest, at the moment we're not going to win the Europa League either, based on a recent European record, but at least you can dream properly in that competition. But I'm just so excited for that Champions League. I think it's going to be magic. All of those games, 8 different teams to find out about and to look at best players, and we've got a fair chance, I would suggest, of having one of the big teams in Europe coming up against them. But we need the squad strengthened for that. I think there's a good Celtic squad there, the makings of a really good squad. I think Brendan Rodgers is doing a terrific job at the moment, has the players motivated, real bit between their teeth, almost as if they're kind of looking at last season and saying, okay, we won a double, but it wasn't good enough generally, and they want to hit a better level, but they just need a bit of help. But I can't wait for the Champions League.
Yeah, me too. I can wait at the moment because there's no real big outfield signings of quality. So the thought of the Champions League, and the thing is, there won't be any easy draws either. I was writing about this yesterday. The fact is, you will meet some of the elite teams in the Champions League. It's worked out like that. You will play some of the pot 1 and pot 2 sides. Even some of the pot 3 sides are quite scary in prospect.
Yeah.
So yeah, even pot 4, Aston Villa. They've spent the most money in world football this summer, in terms of transfers. So
Fancy
that
them,
was
by
an
the way.
incredible.
I'd fancy
Was
a
it,
go
sorry?
at Aston Villa. I'd fancy a go
Be
at
a, be
Aston
a good
Villa.
away day, definitely, at Villa Park. That'd be a great atmosphere at Villa Park. I'm sure. Two teams with a lot of European history, so the two would battle it out between them. But I'm just looking forward, like you said. I think it's a bit of a, whether you're making videos or you're a journalist, it's a bit of a journalist dream, in that you can check out 8 different teams that Celtic will be facing off against, their best players. Not having that, it's been expanded, so you've not got that group where you're worrying about other results in those groups. You're looking at every result in the Champions League now, especially for the first 4 games, because the league, it's going to be tight. You'll see what teams are the early front runners, what teams are struggling. So it's very dynamic, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it works in real life. I've only seen it, and admittedly, I have only seen it in Football Manager. When you go that far enough in your save, that you're in the new Champions League format, but from what I've experienced game wise, it is exciting, and there's a lot of different moving parts, which is going to be interesting to see. It's where Celtic want to be. Celtic want to be in the Champions League. It's a format that they'll have to get used to, regardless of what level of European football they're playing in, because they're all unified. They're all playing in the same league system, whether it's the Europa League, the Conference League, or the Champions League. So I'm looking forward to it, and just looking forward to sampling different teams and different play styles, different managers. It's like, I think it's a great expansion. I'm just looking forward to seeing it in action, basically.
Yeah, can't wait for it. As we say, we just need to strengthen the squad. A number of you talking about this new third kit that's been leaked. You see that?
Yep, I can see
What's
that.
the it's terrible lighting, but
That
it's like
actually
a kind
goes
of
with the
camouflage khaki. Is that what they call it?
yeah
Take
khaki.
the eye
It's
away from that potentially.
listen, the John Cena Celtic links happened yesterday, and they've put out a camouflage kit. They're obviously playing to. No, I'm kidding, but it's an acquired taste. I actually don't mind it. Probably prefer it over the away kit, to be honest. Because I
Oh,
like something different.
come on! A yellow away kit
I've never been a big
is one
fan
of
of
the
yellow kits, apart from nah.
finest. A yellow Celtic kit is one of the finest things, in my humble opinion. And an Adidas one, I love it. I love the home kit this season. I actually think the kits are much nicer than last season. I wasn't particularly... I liked the black one last year. I thought that was classy. The home one was... Yeah, less said about that, the better. The kind of luminous one, I wasn't mad for that. I like this season's. I think the home kit's a cracker. I love the yellow one. That I could take it or leave it, to be honest, but it's probably the kind of one that will go down well. Away kit is far too yellow, says Charlie. Sort yourself out, Charlie. It's no too yellow. It's not yellow enough.
You're getting quite a few. You're getting quite a bit of backlash for the yellow kit. I like yellow kits when they're on goalkeepers. It's not something I would personally go out and buy, to be honest. I'm not really into the yellow kits as much. I prefer the black top. The black top last season I thought was really nice, especially the collar, or the slight collar on it. Out of the 3, I love the home kit. The home kit looked absolutely tremendous in the US tour on TV. It really did stand out. It looked professional. It looked elite, which was good. Looked a lot better than last season's top. I actually didn't mind last season's top because it was something a bit different, and they went for something, and they went for it 2-footed. If people didn't like it, so be it. But it was one of those ones that will probably be remembered positively for the way the season ended for Adam Ida's Scottish Cup final goal. I associate tops with players and goals, and I'll always look at that top as the Adam Ida top in the Scottish Cup final. So it'll always be remembered as something positive, whether or not you like the design. But it'll just take you back to a good time on the 25th of May. I can't believe that was over 2 months ago now. Time really does fly when you're not linked with anybody.
I know. It does. We'll probably have a fourth and a fifth kit at some stage this season as well, because that's the way things are going. More money, everyone. More money to potentially give to the club. Great stuff. What was I going to say there? Oh yeah, we're playing Hibs this Sunday. Really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be it was always a test at Easter Road when you go there. They're really not in a good place though at the moment. I was chatting to a Hibs fan just before this actually, and he was saying that their support could turn on Sunday, he reckons, if they don't get off to the right start. So it's going to be interesting to see how Sunday goes. They've still got a number of dangerous players. They've got Martin Boyle still there. The fella, I think he's Ukrainian, they've just brought back, is it Kucherevi, possibly?
I think he's commonly known as Miko.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And they've signed Junior Hoylett now as well, which I didn't realise. So they've got some talent going forward, and we'll have to be at it on Sunday.
Absolutely. And Junior Hoylett got 2 assists against Celtic in the Scottish Cup semi-final. So he had an incredible amount of assists in a short period of time. At Aberdeen, it was something like 9 in 14 games. So he's a provider, definitely, even though he's 34.
He got the better of Alistair Johnson a bit, didn't he, in that semi-final?
International teammate as well.
Yeah, I was going to say. So I wonder if that would be... I guess it's a big game for Alistair Johnson to kind of, get back and show him who's boss.
I think they've still got... Unless they've sold him, they've still got Ellie Yohan as well. They've got Joe Newell. So they've got players that, the Nicky Cadden's just signed for the club. Bowie, the young Fulham player, the Scotland under-21's just signed for them. So they're a club on the up, trying to make things happen. I know they're now partly owned by the Black Knights group, Bill Foley, who's got a stake in Bournemouth. So there's things happening. Although there seems to be a bit of strife in the background. I think Bill Foley didn't get the candidate that he wanted in charge of the Hibs job, so there's off the field stuff happening there. It's never a dull moment with Hibs, much like Celtic. Yeah. I think they're just one of those sides that something's happening, positively or negatively. Something will be happening on that front. But they've got players that can hurt Celtic. Dylan Venty's a presence up front, not really prolific, but he'll put in a shift. And Martin Boyle's obviously got history in Scottish football too, so we've got plenty of players that can hurt them. They'll be like a wounded animal, I believe, on Sunday. They'll have been really, really annoyed by the way that they lost that game against St Mirren, particularly after threatening quite a bit in the first half. They seem to just implode on themselves in the second half, and that's probably partly down to the fact that St Mirren are a pretty good side this season, and Celtic play them next away from home after Easter Road, so that'll be a difficult game. But I'm expecting a tough game as always from Hibs. It was a tough game last season, so I would expect nothing different, especially at Easter Road.
Henrik McClarson's got a 3-0. Sushil Bali's got a 6-0.
Wow.
I saw someone else with a 4-0. Can't remember who it was. Someone saying, Jason saying we're going to score at least 4 against Hibs. So generally quite confident. Maestro saying 5. I guess you can't feel anything other than confident about the team on the pitch at the moment.
On the pitch, but this is historically... there's been a couple of good results recently at Easter Road, but historically it's been a ground that Celtic have struggled at and struggled to get results from as long as I can remember. I remember Arthur Boric making a massive mistake in a game that they lost years and years ago. Also remember him pulling off one of the great... Yeah. Also remember him pulling off arguably the greatest save I've ever seen against David Wotherspoon.
Yeah.
Every time I watch that clip, I think the ball's going to go in the back of the net, and he somehow gets a finger to it and puts it onto the post. It is one of the best pieces of goalkeeping, and he had that in his locker. But I associate Celtic and Easter Road with difficult games at Easter Road. Be a good atmosphere. First home game of the season for Hibernian. They'll be looking to make things right, and they do generally seem to turn up against Celtic. I think there are problems with maybe the lesser teams in the league, although they could probably call themselves one of them due to the positions that they've had in the past few years. I expect them to turn up and make it as difficult as possible for Celtic. So the 4, 5, 6 nothings, I can't necessarily agree with them, although I would love to, because I'll be at Easter Road at the weekend. I think it'll be closer. I think it'll be 2, maybe 1, 2, 3 now, or a scored, both teams scoring in the one game. I think it'll be difficult.
Yeah, as I said yesterday, I'm conflicted a little bit. The confidence is remarkable, but I guess, as I say, the team are playing so well, and big pitch at Easter Road as well. I would guess the pitch would be in really good nick given the time of year, so it should be conducive to some really good football. And we know that Celtic at the moment, I always think as well, see when you've got the no midweek distractions, and to be honest, no European distractions either at this stage, like certain other teams who have to go through qualifying and stuff like that. It means we can just focus on the week-to-week stuff. And I always think when you've only got one game a week, you've only got one opportunity per week for the players to really go and show what they're about. And I think by the time you get to the weekend, they're just raring to go and bursting at the seams and all of that kind of stuff. So I think we'll see something similar on Sunday, to be honest. I think Celtic will start really well. I think Hibs will come at us though as well. And apparently, again, I need to double check this, but I heard something recently about apparently every year since Hibs have come back up to the top flight, which I think was in 2017 they were promoted, every year they've taken points off us at Easter Road. So not in every match, obviously, but once a season at least they've taken points off us. So it's a tough game for us, but we've just got so much momentum on the pitch at the moment, and you just, as I said yesterday, I think you just almost send the same team out and you just say, you know, go and take the game to them, just go and kick on from where you left off on Sunday. I'm just counting down the days to go and watch this team play again, because we're a joy to watch at the moment, and there's just another opportunity there to further enhance how everyone's feeling about the team.
Yeah, very much a Jekyll and Hyde situation with on the park and off the park at the moment with Celtic. But thank goodness that they're good on the park. Could you imagine the atmosphere and the general feeling around the club if they weren't firing on all cylinders? The result on Sunday really went a long way to, you know, boosting the mood around the place, because people are annoyed with the fact that there's not been as many signings, there's not been those signs of reported quality that Brendan Rodgers wants as of yet. There's still time, that can still happen, but, you know, time is ticking, obviously. On the park, you know, the expansive football that Celtic played in the pre-season tour, and then to transfer that from playing against the elite in Chelsea and Manchester City to then playing against Kilmarnock, a team that, you know, will sit behind the ball and look to defend, but they still managed to carve them open with relative ease. That was great, and it shows that it can work both potentially in Europe against these big teams. I know Chelsea won't be in the Champions League, Man City will be, so that could be a team that they come up against. I know it was, you know, they were playing some youth players, but it shows that you can play that against good teams, and you can also play that against teams that are looking to sit behind the ball. The good thing about Hibs at the weekend, and I've said this a couple of times, I say it every time before Celtic play Hibs, their fans will not accept them sitting behind the ball. They'll always ask them to have a go at the opposition. It's the same for Hibs and Hearts. When they come up against Celtic or Rangers, they'll look to really go at their opponents, and it makes for good games. The Glasgow Edinburgh games more often than not are crackers, because the two styles just go together well in a match situation. So I'm looking forward to sampling that at the weekend. Hopefully Celtic can come away with the 3 points and keep the good feeling going at least on the pitch.
Yeah, Hearts Rangers was an absolute cracker, Ryan, wasn't it, on Sunday? Saturday.
Yeah. I mean, the result was cracking. Yeah, I only tuned in for the last 10 minutes. I'll jinx it if I watch it for too long, and so I looked at my phone and seen that it was nothing each. I was like, might need to watch the last 10 minutes of it. It really was I'm not going to say it was an unexpected boost, because I did see Hearts potentially taking points off the Rangers so early on in the season. By the looks of the highlights, either team could have won that game quite easily with the chances that they had. But a draw's a great result for Celtic, because these teams taking points off each other while Celtic hopefully keep on winning can only mean Celtic are in a good place come the end of the season, and the only good place is the first position. So hopefully they can keep that going, get another win, 2 wins from 2, and then go into the League Cup, focus on the League Cup, knowing that you're top of the league.
Yeah. So we go ahead to the weekend. We'll have another video tomorrow to look ahead to stuff and maybe discuss any imminent transfer news the club want to sort out between now and then. That would be much appreciated. I think that's your lot for today. Enjoy your Thursday, everyone. Subscribe to the channel if you've not managed to do it yet. Thank you so much for watching, commenting, etc. Either at the time or afterwards. And we'll catch you this time tomorrow.